Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Johanna. For those of you who are new here, welcome. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. In today's video, I'll be doing a page out of this coloring book by Morgan O'Brien, The Way Home. And if that is of interest to you, please stay tuned. So I will actually be doing another page in this book, which will be our group buddy color, which is this page right here. This is the group buddy color for May. So I'll be doing a separate video about this. This group buddy color has absolutely been inspired by Be Cozy. I'll link her channel below because when I did a flip through of this book, they had suggested, oh, it would be cool if you organized a buddy color. I'm like, cool, I'll do that. And so thank you so much, Bee, for being an inspiration to do the group buddy color. And then Lavella from Lavella's Coloring. Everyone knows Miss Lavella. She's amazing. But she had mentioned that she will be doing a page out of here, whether it's a video or just something she's going to put up on Instagram. I'm not sure, for May the 4th. Now, in regular Star Wars movies, one of the things people say is May the Force be with you, and that just kind of grew into a thing on May 4th. So I thought, well, I can color a page in here. It's going to be actually an entry for Olga Rani, although I think it's one of those very skewed, if you close one eye kind of things. But the page I'm going to be coloring is this page right here. And that's because I'm going to consider this a little frog dude. I mean, it's a space frog, so we're not exactly sure how they look. And then little Grogu, and I will have this video going up on May the 4th. So thank you, Bee, and thank you, Lavella, for the inspiration. Again, I will be doing that group buddy color in a different video, probably towards the ending of the month. All right, I'm going to use the same colors for Grogu that I used in the last video that I did with him, and that's out of my Ohuhu pastels. And so for Grogu, I used 420 and 220, which is this one right here. And then for his outfit, I used sand and cream. So that's all I'm going to use from this set. And then I'm going to pull out my regular Ohuhus, and there's actually some Art 101s and some Sharpies. Art 101s are these pens that I had got from Walmart several months ago, and they're okay. They are actually difficult to put back into the cover because there's actually a hole that you have to put into, and I have found that I have split some of the pens because I didn't get it in the first jab. So yeah, I won't replace them, but I will use them up. But he's going to be these colors of green. We're going to make him super green. I don't swatch anything. I only swatch Grogu because I do want him to be a particular color. And I really did like the purples we used the last time. And I don't know if I want this to be shrubbery or if I want this to be sky. Let's put some purple in the background, and then that should make some of the greens pop, because it's going to be a very green heavy page. Well, no, we can make it actually whatever kind of page we want. So let's put some markers on the desk, and that will just be our color palette. And if you're wondering, does she always choose colors like that? Yes. Yes, she does. Oh, the whispering. All right, so let me put this away. I do want to pick one more color. All right, so this is our color palette. It's actually quite springy, except for that purple. And then this is Grogu's colors. So again, a lime green and green shadow out of the pastel set, and then cream and sand. I do have a protector page. Just make sure it's down correctly. We're going to put the lighter color first and just color him. Now, I don't know when May the 4th started by way of being part of popular culture. I know I've seen it on Instagram. I'll probably see it on Facebook if I happen to be on Facebook. My foray into Facebook gets less and less these days just because I need to be in the right headspace for Facebook, and more often than not these days, I'm not. My desk is not set up for filming coloring, so you will see some intense shadows. Now, if I need to pull in some additional colors after the fact, I can certainly do that, but because my desk is so small, I find just pulling some colors out, using those to the best of my ability, and then adding additional if I need to, just kind of reduces how much stuff I have on the desk. So that's good. I think that's the darker of the two colors. I guess we'll see. And so we're going to do what seems to be some really janky shading. But I found in the last video that doing a second layer of that first color we used actually will kind of bring it up so that the contrast is not as noticeable, but you still see a contrast, and I really like the look of that. Okay, so we're done with him just as quickly as that was. We'll put some cream down again all over because that's the lightest color. And this cream actually pulls a little orange, but that's okay. All right, and then we'll come in and we'll put some of this sand down. And because that cream is still kind of wet, this isn't going down as darkly as I'd like. Is that right? Darkly? As dark? Words are hard. So I can always go back and do another layer of that, but we'll leave the little collar section for now. Now, my regular set of ohuhus are fine and broad tips. So let's do this guy, because that kind of sets the tone. Oh, that might be a little too dark. Oh deal. So I'm just going to color him all in. Now, had I thought about this with any kind of forethought, I would actually have come up with some questions to answer so that there's just not a lot of dead space. But I didn't. So I don't. So I'll talk about some Star Wars movies while I'm doing this, because I don't generally do color alongs and then just chat, because I never know what to say. Plus, there's just certain information about myself, like my work day, where I work, things like that, that I don't feel are pertinent to my channel. So you'll never have one that's just me chatting about how my weeks went or how it's going, because well, honestly, that's not something I would just chat about in general anyway. So I try to make whatever I'm talking about either relevant to what it is that I'm coloring or to talk about how I'm coloring. This one is pretty straightforward because it's more than likely going to be straight up coloring. For some of these single-sided books, I don't feel the need to come in and do shading with pencil, although it does add some additional depth that I like. I don't know that I'm feeling all that effort. Okay, so from a Star Wars perspective by way of movies, I think my outright favorite is Well, there's actually a tie. I love Empire Strikes Back. I just love it. I think they hit their stride. Luke Skywalker, to me, in the first movie, and maybe because I was younger, he seemed like the perfect hero. Blonde, pink blue eyes, just beautiful, and just quite enamored as a young girl. But then even with Empire coming out a few years later, by that time, it was kind of the Frodo effect. Or even in some levels, the Harry Potter effect, where they just seem to whine a lot. And I don't like that whole teen angsty thing. I mean, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. When I was a teen, I was super angsty because life was just so hard. And considering life now, it was such a breeze. But at the time, it was so hard. At least I thought so. And so that whole angsty, oh, why me? Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. But Han Solo, I think, really just stole that movie by way of The Empire Strikes Back. Now, speaking of Han Solo, I guess my next one that is my favorite actually is one of the more recent ones. And that is, I don't know the name of the actual movie specifically, but it's the one that introduced Finn and Poe and Rey. Because I've seen it quite a few times because I love the opening of that, where you see Rey and she's living on that planet. And can I tell you the name of the planet? No. Does it have significance in some of the other movies? I think it does. I don't know if it's the one that Luke was on. I couldn't tell you. I kind of watch movies the same way that I watch YouTube, where I just kind of half pay attention. And honestly, I've seen that movie probably a good 12 to 15 times because I really do enjoy it. It's just I don't concern myself with the details like what are these animals called, or these species called, or how they play in the lexicon of the story. Yeah. Entertain me, please. Don't make me think. Now, I am coloring over some of the shrubbery, and that's just an executive decision. And that's just because I want to make this sort of look like a sky. And I don't want to have to be too precious about what it is that I'm coloring. Whether I come in and do some highlights on those, I don't know. But for now, we're just going to color over some of those smaller things. And for the movie, and again, I don't remember the name, but it's the one that introduced Rey and Finn and Poe. My favorite scene in that movie is actually towards the beginning where she's making her dinner. I will actually stop what I'm doing and watch that because I just find that scene so interesting. And I think that's part of the problem. When I'm watching a movie for the first time, I will try to the best of my ability to give it my full attention. But yeah, sometimes the mind wanders, sometimes the story kind of lags, and so I just kind of not pay attention. But if I like a movie, I'm very much a person who will continue to watch movies. So like Encanto, I've seen probably 30 times. And it's more so because I can turn it on in the background and just listen to the songs that I enjoy and the dialogue and the whatnot. And then when it gets to the parts where I know it's interesting visually, then I'll just look up and I'll watch. And that's how I do things. And so I've actually found in some movies that I've watched, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that character gave that look or that happened because I only half pay attention. Plus my memory's not great, so maybe I saw it, but I don't remember it. But that's my favorite part of that movie. Now that movie, like many movies these days, when I watch it, I generally go in knowing what's going to happen because I don't like surprises. And so I have no problem searching online for spoilers of movies. I also have no problem flipping to the back of the book and reading the last 2 chapters to find out what happens. I was in a live productivity that my friend Andy was hosting this past yesterday, in fact, and she had mentioned that. And I kind of do the same. Several years ago, probably good 10, 15, maybe even 20, I remember reading a book that was interesting enough. But then I distinctly remember that the last 2 chapters, oh no, were horrible. They were absolutely horrible. And I can't tell you what the book is. I can't tell you why it was horrible. I just remember thinking that I just wasted my time reading this book. And I'd never felt that feeling before with any other book that I'd ever read. And so that's what got me into the habit of reading how a book ends. Now, I still see value in reading through a book because, especially if it's a one-off or if it's something new, I actually don't know what's going on. But, and I know you're like, then how do you follow along? Yeah, I manage because I don't necessarily read it exactly. I don't start with, the last 2 chapters. I will read a chapter or 2 just to see if I'm even interested in the book, because I have no problem stopping reading a book. But if it seems like, yeah, I'm interested in how this unfolds, then I'll go to the back and I will read the last few chapters. And then if it still seems worthwhile, I'll finish the book. Now, some of the books that I've considered finished for this month, if it feels like I'm hopping all over, I really am. I'm just really stream of consciousness right now. I actually read probably the first half of it, and then I was just more concerned on the story than any of the world building or the character building. And then I just skipped to the back and then considered it done. I think that's actually a branch. Okay, so what does it look like if we add some of this to some of those things? Oh, that's interesting. Now, the ones that I've done that with, I actually do enjoy the story. And so I will go back and do a reread and then definitely read through the chapters that I just totally skipped. And that's why I enjoy rereading, because if I enjoy the story, the way that I read, because I've always been a skimmer. I haven't always been a skipper. Is that I will find things that even in books that I read 30, 40 years ago, I'm like, oh, okay, now some of the other story actually makes a lot more sense now. And I have no problem with that. To me, it's just the way that I've enjoyed reading things. Oh, I guess that is different. And just getting to know stories. It used to drive my sister crazy because we had very similar tastes in our reading habits, which is good because we both preferred hardback books or paper books. They could actually be a paperback versus ebooks or audiobooks. And so we would share, and she'd want to share her thoughts, and she'd be like, oh, and didn't you just hate or love when this happened? I'm like, really? That happened? I don't remember that. And it used to drive her batty. So she finally just started doing thoughts with other of her friends because she just knew she wasn't going to get the experience she wanted from me because I don't read that way. But it makes me smile. I have been reading quite a bit. I think I mentioned it, get a Amazon Fire tablet, because I can take it on the go with me, and I do have a lot of downtime when I'm waiting for various buses, and so I'll just sit and read. You may not know this, but I live on the island of Oahu. I live in Hawaii. And while it's not like super dangerous, I do make sure that when I do sit down and read, I'm reading in a space that's safe. And so generally that's the bus depot or at the bus stop near where I live. But I do try to be aware of what's going on around me, just because since the pandemic, and it could be just because there isn't a lot of people in the downtown area where I have to go through in order to get to my bus, but there's a lot more homeless, and there's a lot more, I don't know if it's mentally unstable people or drug addicted people or a combination thereof, but those are the ones that I'm wary of, because homeless people generally, they're just people without homes. But those who have mental issues, or those who are maybe with mental issues and self-medicating with narcotics, those you have to really pay attention to. And being a professional passenger for all of my professional career, that's not a new lesson. I've noticed that it's more pervasive. I think our downtown area has less people working there because rents are really high. And so I think a lot of the people there are working from home. Because as I ride the bus through our downtown area, I've noticed less working professionals. So yeah, I've been reading more because I've been waiting more. It's a long story to get to that place right there. I think this is one big branch. Okay, so let's add some different colors. I do want to get a brown for the branch. I didn't think about that. And let's see if this does anything. It's lighter than the green that we're using, so it's certainly not going to darken anything, but it'll be fun if it just makes the tone a little different, which I actually think it's doing. So that's good. We'll take that same mentality and go over this so it brings us into a different color without having to grab a different color. And I like using that, especially, I'm not limiting because I wanted a limited palette. I'm limiting so I don't have that much stuff on my desk. Okay, so I actually want a dark color for the inside of his mouth, although I like his being white like that. And let's use this one to add some interest. Let's give him another coat. And then we can come in again with this one. And I might actually need to see if I can get another set of the pastels. Not even so much for these two colors, because I'm not going to buy a whole set of alcohol markers just for two colors, but I do like using them as a base and then just kind of layering on top. And we wanted to add some more to this guy. And eventually these colors are going to run out for me because I actually don't have a backup set yet. And so then I'll need to figure out in my regular Ohuhus which green markers work. Because I mean, really, he just needs to be green and brown. Well, no, he doesn't need to be anything. It's your coloring book. But I want him to be green and brown to be as close to the original artwork as I can. Okay, actually I kind of like that. I kind of like the white too. So let me go into my pastels and see if I can just find a light color just because I like the separation that has. For this red gray or maybe pale pink cherry, Because just because these are pastels, these don't necessarily pull really light. And I want really light. So let's test this one. That's a contender. Let's test this one. Oh, I like the pink better. And if you're watching Horrified, yeah, that's kind of how I do things. There is some extra pages in the back that I could do that on, and I did that with his skin in the last video that I did. But generally speaking, I don't get too fussy about such things. Until I do. Like him, I think I'm a little bit fussy because I want him to look a certain way with a certain color palette. Now I could go warmer with just deeper greens and deeper browns, and you would still absolutely get the sense that it is Grogu. But I like this rendition of him, although I will need to work on him a little bit more. Okay, I think this is actually a dark gray and not a black, but that's fine. I just want to really define the inside of the mouth, and then I can just leave the teeth. And I'm actually going to darken up his spots and really play into the shadows, because I will be using a different medium on here in just a little bit. And so I want to make sure that all of my color is down before I do that. Okay. I definitely think that gives him a little bit more definition than he had. And then for Grogu, I want to bring in more of this color. And that's for his outfit. Maybe we'll see how that gray works in some of the shadows on him. And then we'll just kind of add some definition to here. Okay, let's go back and work on him a little bit. Again, just to add some additional tone to make him look more interesting. Okay, so he's done. I'm going to use some of that cream and bring some tone into here. And not being really careful about it. I just want it to be a little bit more interesting than the straight color that was on the page, which I definitely think it does. Okay, so I like what he looks like. I like what he looks like. So let me bring one more element in. Now I've used this stuff on my channel before. This is Wink of Stella. This is the clear one. I think it's like clear, gloss clear. Maybe that's what that means. But we're going to use this gold one. We're going to see how that looks on him. It may be a train wreck. I don't know. Again, I don't test anything. But let's put this down. And I don't know if we should be strategic or if we should put it everywhere. Let's put it over there. Okay, we'll put it everywhere. Because I didn't want it to completely alter that this is a green thing. But I also want him to pop off the page a little. And so this one definitely pulls gold. I don't know if you guys can see it, but oh yeah, I like that. And maybe we'll put some glaze pen on his tongue since it's such a feature on the page, and just make it look shiny and sticky. I don't know if I mentioned it in the top of the video, but any page that you complete out of this can go towards my hashtag Grogu in 2022. So even if it isn't our group buddy color, if you finish something, feel free to go in and just add to the gallery wall. By the end of the year, I think it's just going to be this amazing collection of pages from this book. Okay, so I'm going to add some white here, because there are some lines, and I'm assuming that's just to denote some speed for this guy. And I think actually that looks really good. And then the last thing we're going to add is some Pentel glaze. And I do prefer, if I am going to use a glaze pen, because I could just put this straight to the paper, but I like putting a base of color underneath and then putting a corresponding color on top, because one, if I miss a spot, there'll still be color, and I just think it can change the tone of your glaze pen. So if I did this over something green, or if I did this over something brown, the effect would be different than what you're seeing here. There's a lot of talking in this video. Certainly seemed random. But I think it looks good. Look at that. Now I will have a story here. I forgot to write down the story of the other one. By the time I do our actual May buddy color, group buddy color, then I will have it all updated with the story, because with the Morgan O'Brien coloring books, I do like adding some text to the page. I do enjoy that they are centered, but for me, when I add text to a page, it just takes away some of the white space. And I firmly regret putting this gray, at least right now, because it doesn't seem to be drying too much lighter. I think a lighter one would have been better, but it also adds some shadows. So yeah, Grogu is interesting. I mean, he's, whatever he is, he already looks like a little old man, so that's not that bad. But that's our page for today. So yeah, lots of chatting, lots of coloring, all done in one go. I really enjoy this coloring book, and I am looking forward to doing more. All right, guys, that's it for me for now. And may the 4th be with you. Aloha.